Ooh, we shall overcome, but we shall overcome. Freedom! Freedom! But we shall overcome, but we shall overcome. Freedom! Yes, sir! Freedom! But we shall overcome, but we shall overcome. Every day we getting gunned down, and it's so profound. And we the main ones that are killing the major letdown. We used to play the back of the bus, we up front now. Now we play the back of the bus, cause it's cool now. Whatever happened to respecting what we fighting for? If right is wrong and what is right ain't even right no more. Your right hand, pump your fist in the air. Take $1 million to hold us back, but there's only one black there. Stand firm, all black, you gon' fall for it. Mind people get killed, no cause for it. And then they wonder why we search for the truth, cause we realize that we been living a lie, and it's affecting our youth. They snatch proof like they pulling a tooth, then fill it in before we get to the roots. And they be striking a nerve, and they don't care how much they get on our nerves. To learn the truth we just don't deserve, really.
This is our third stop on our 10 McDonald's field office tour with Don't Be McFOOLED. So we wanted to give you an in-depth look into McDonald's systemic racism. And with this being the Byrd brothers field office, we wanted to give you an in-depth look into how McDonald's treats their black franchisees, as well as how McDonald's targets the black community, with 30% of the gross sales coming from the black community. These are the Byrd brothers, James F. Byrd Jr. and Darrell Byrd, McDonald's Nashville field office franchisees, National Black McDonald Operators Association members, and James F. Byrd Jr. is one of the founding board members of the Ronald McDonald House Charities Memphis, as well as the class representatives for Byrd et al. Versus McDonald et al.
Hey, my name is Wallace Gator Bradley, president of United Peace, Inc. I came all the way to Nashville from Chicago, Illinois. This is the third trip to a field office that McDonald's owns. We want to say to Nashville, don't be McFOOLED. McDonald's is getting rid of black franchisees, and we saying that for all the people in Tennessee, call your state representative, your state senator, call your congressman, call your senator, call the mayors of your town, and tell them they need to join us in this peaceful educational protest against McDonald's systemic racism. It's wild to me to see all the commercials that I've been seeing McDonald's do where they cater to African Americans, as if they're doing something to help the African American community, when in fact they're destroying an economic base for those African Americans that choose to go into business with McDonald's by getting a franchise. When I hear everyone from the president say that systemic racism has to stop, when I hear it from county board presidents around this country, when I'm hearing it from mayors from around this country, now is the time for all of us to stand up and say, let's put an end to systemic corporate racism. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. That's my story. We got the Byrd brothers here, Darrell and James. They are Black McDonald owner association members. We got brother Kahari Nash. He gonna give you the history from 1955, how McDonald's ain't been right to now. And we got the state representative, Joe Towns, who represent Memphis, Tennessee.
On March 19, 2021, the Byrd brothers wrote to the Honorable Joyce Betty, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, member of the House Financial Services Committee, to make them aware that McDonald's has been practicing systemic racism in the McDonald's Corporation.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending. And let me certainly thank the men and women who have actually organized this in front of the field office of McDonald's here at 1801 West End in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is in the city, the capital city, where men have come from across the country to participate in this protest against McDonald's, as it has sought to deceive members of the community that have put forth good money and got a bad deal, got a real bad deal. This is the reason we're saying don't be McFooled. I just happen to be one of your state representatives, and I'm joined by one of my other colleagues, Hakeem, who's out of Chattanooga, that is protesting with these men, the Byrd brothers, who has stood up, had the courage, organized a great deal of people from across the country. They've been in the business for an extended number of decades, and they have been getting a raw deal. None of us mind receiving what we sign on and agree to. But when you bait and switch me, and you play dirty, and you pull from under the deck, this is the reason we say don't be McFooled. McDonald's been fooling the public with all these pretty commercials that come to our community to make them think they're treating our families fairly.
Remember when McDonald's made commercials that cater specifically to black people? What do black people like? 90s R&B music and chicken.
I woke up and found you creeping tiptoe. Oh girl, I know your secret. You dipping on me. Got that McNuggets loving.
Yo, cuz, I'm gonna show you how the South does it. Try this out. All right. You got it? Come on.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
And they have not been treating our families fairly, to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars that have been lost and exploited out of the African American community. High time that end, and we're not going to go away, because it's been a dirty deal from the start, because it's too well organized. When I looked at the presentation, the information that they presented to us, it is absolutely contrived from the start to deceive these men and women who happen to be minority men and women out of their hard-earned resources. They're not selling dope. They're selling hamburgers and put their money forth in good faith and thought they had a part of the American dream by being in the burger business. However, when they looked at the returns, at the end of the day, the do re mi fa sol la ti do didn't stack up in their favor. Their money came up short, and it's systematically short. This is certainly systemic racism, but it's systemic economic racism that they're taking from our communities.
Between 2010 and 2020, the number of black McDonald's franchisee stores has decreased from 1,349 to 1,318, while all franchisee stores have increased from 11,441 to 12,625.
McDonald's gonna have to come up off of it. They're gonna have to do right. This is the reason we have a lawsuit against them for what they're doing. The lawsuit is not gonna go away. We're not gonna be talked down, bribed down, or scared down. We're taking it all the way through because there's too much riding on this. If you are doing good business in this country with a corporation, you ought to be able to have a fair deal with any corporation, the deal that was signed. But systematically, the African-American companies, franchises, have been losing millions of dollars every year. And that is not fair. That's the reason we say we're not going to be McFooled. That's one of the reasons that I offered to my state a letter that would actually ask our treasury to refrain from investing money into the McDonald's Corporation. We need to divest. And we're asking that you that are in the listening audience that have the wherewithal to ask for that kind of accountability, that you ask that your cities and ask that your state divest money from McDonald's until they make these young men and women whole. They need to be made whole because they were honest when they came to do business, and they have been McFooled. And we are sick of being McFooled. Historically throughout this country, they have taken advantage of our labor, taken advantage of our ideas, taken advantage of our inventions, and walked off with the dough. And that's not fair. McDonald's is a major corporation around the world, and we want the world to know they're fooling people. They're gonna have to come clean. They are fooling people. I hadn't had a taste for a McDonald's in the last 2 years. It doesn't taste the same to me because I know who they are. I'm not being McFooled. I am not gonna be McFooled. And I'm not gonna eat, personally not gonna eat in McDonald's unless I eat at the Byrd Brothers restaurant. That's in Memphis, Tennessee. I won't be eating them unless I eat them at the Byrd place, period. Because it's not fair. If you can't count a man and trust a man with his word, what can you trust him with? Your children, the food quality, the neighborhoods. It would be understandable if this seemed to have occurred accidentally, but this is systematic and it's always minority vendors. Time is up for that kind of nonsense. We want them to make these gentlemen whole, settle that lawsuit in good faith. We want you to up the ante in terms of how many African-American operators we still have, owner-operators we have, or franchisees we have, okay, because those numbers have decreased by the hundreds. When I started looking at this some time ago, we had hundreds of McDonald's black franchisees. Now it's way down by hundreds. Well, that's not fair. Systematically weed them out after we have stood with you all when the hamburger place was not as large as it is around the world and help you to make a fortune around the world. Now you want to weed our people out.
Between 2010 and 2020, the black McDonald's franchisees have decreased from 285 to 186. 99 black McDonald's operators were forced out of the business.
Don't be McFOOLED. I think we eat about 30% of that business. Black people make up about 30% of that business in terms of the money that we expend on your hamburgers. Now, there's always some competition lurking around the corner. We're asking for fair treatment. We're demanding fair treatment. I want you all to settle that lawsuit. Until then, we're going to keep putting this pressure on you all until you do right. With that, I want to thank the men, Kahari, and all that have organized this lawsuit and this protest. Once again, I'm excited to be a part of it. We're going to follow it all the way to the nth degree because it's not right how they have been treated. And I want to thank again, have to thank the Byrd brothers, McDonald's franchise operators, owners, for their efforts and having the courage to stand up against this giant we call Goliath. We're not going to be McFOOLED. Don't you be McFOOLED. Thank you.
The Byrd brothers break down the systemic racism for the Congressional Black Caucus, as well as a way forward of how to break the systemic racism in McDonald's.
Hello, my name is James Byrd. I am a McDonald's operator out of Memphis, Tennessee, and just want to give humble thanks to Mr. Bradley for inviting us to support his initiative. If not now, when? There were, at one point, 377 black McDonald's operators. That number has dropped down to less than 180. If not now, when? There is a significant cash flow gap or sales gap between white operators and black operators. Almost 2.9 million if you're white and 2 million if you're black. A negative. If not now, when? We are not pleased with it. My brother and I, Darrell, have joined in a class action lawsuit to fight what we call systemic racism. And it's something that is not new. It's been going on, and we are not pleased. Give you a little background. Earlier in the year, or last year, we all watched the travesty of George Floyd being murdered in front of our eyes. One of the worst things I've seen personally in my lifetime. During that time, my brother and I attended a march, and that march had a mosaic of people in Memphis, young, older, black, white, folks just excited, and the spirit was to do the right thing. About that same time, there were two black executives that filed their own lawsuit because they had been terminated by McDonald's. They'd had some problems, and they filed a lawsuit. Part of that lawsuit, we were able to find out a lot of details and insider information that they filed, that they knew, and that they brought to the forefront. So I call them the whistleblowers because they helped shed a light on some things that we knew or had been thinking were significant. So after the Memphis rally, My brother and I happened to be in Louisville, Kentucky. Breonna Taylor had been murdered. Another travesty that we all witnessed. And during that time, you looked out and you saw a lot of same thing, a mosaic of people, different races, creeds, and colors, standing up to support systemic racism and letting people know it wasn't going to be tolerated. So what am I saying? My brother and I decided that we were going to join in the lawsuit, and we knew that if it wasn't now, when would it be? And if it wasn't us, who would it be? We all have a chance to take a stand for what we know is right. And what Brother Gator has helped bring the light to across the country on a national basis is systemic racism is not right.
Byrd brothers request a congressional hearing on systematic racism in corporate America and request that the House Financial Services Committee chair and members of the House Financial Services Committee, as well as the chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Financial Institutions and Consumer Protections, Senator Raphael Warnock, call a hearing on systematic racism in corporate America and subpoena McDonald's C-suite board of directors, as well as their national and regional lenders.
Thank you. And as Gator said, let God be the glory. I'm going to bring up the next speaker, which is Darrell Byrd, my beloved brother. And I just want to walk away and say, if not now, when? And if not us, who? Darrell?
This is an overview of the Byrd brothers' class action racial discrimination lawsuit against McDonald's, Byrd et al. Versus McDonald's et al. That was filed on behalf of the current black McDonald's franchisees in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division.
Hello, my name is Darrell Byrd. I'm a Memphis guy and I'm a McDonald's owner-operator. Proud to be back here in Nashville. It's kind of a bittersweet feeling while I'm here, but I'd like to thank Brother Wallace, Gator Bradley, who put this event on and has been just a diligent soldier through this whole process. He's been with us through every step of the way, and I've learned tremendously what it means to communicate the message. As my brother Jim stated, we are McDonald's owner-operators based in Memphis, and I said that I am a little bittersweet with being back here in Nashville. This is the Nashville field office. This is a huge corporation, and this particular field office services a big area, Memphis being part of that. I said it's a little bittersweet because we are here talking about systemic racism as it relates to the United States of America, as it relates to black people, and more specifically as it relates to black owner-operators of McDonald's. We are victims of that. We are victims of systemic racism. And to put that more into context, it would be akin to telling someone what it's like to be a sharecropper. Yes, you're happy to be able to produce, to be able to be a part of, to be able to make something that creates jobs for everyone. Yet at the end of the day, you're on the bottom of the list. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Nashville has the highest cash flow gap in the United States.
The cash flow gap was up in 2010 to 2013 and down from 2014 to 2020.
I know, that's shocking. Nashville, this city of booming economic opportunities, has the highest cash flow gap in the country for African American owner-operators. It's $140,000 per year. That's real money, $140,000 per year per restaurant for black operators. I'm part of that field office. My brother is part of that field office. I have 2 restaurants. So that means automatically I'm $280,000 in the hole before I get started, primarily based on rent calculations that McDonald's charges me. I pay a higher percentage of rent than my fellow white owner-operators. I have nothing against my fellow white owner-operators. I wish them success. I wish them all good things. But I am a bit concerned since 1998 when I became an owner-operator, the black operators were on the bottom of the pie, just as they are in America. And to this day, 2021, again, African Americans are at the bottom. We're at the bottom of the list when it comes to cash flow. We're at the bottom of the list as it comes to sales gaps. We're at the bottom of the list as it relates to growth opportunities. And we're at the bottom of the list in wealth creation for our communities. And that is a problem. So my brother Jim and I took it upon ourselves to take the sheet off, to take the cover off of what has been a hidden secret, that the economics are skewed in a very, very negative way towards the black owner-operators. So I want to help McDonald's be what we say we are, to be a family-oriented company, to be a people-based company, to be a company of opportunities. We want to see that happen for the black McDonald's owner-operators, of which I'm in a lawsuit now with 77 former operators that are in our lawsuit. There's 2 company executives that are in a lawsuit, the whistleblowers who gave us a wealth of information to let us know that we have been abused as owner-operators, that it's not just us, that it's the system. Charging us higher rents for our stores creates less cash flow. Giving us stores that have less volume gives us less cash flow, which means we have less opportunity to build our communities. So that is what we're here for. Systemic racism is happening. We are victims of it. We say no more. We can't take it. And as my brother says, if not now, when? And if not us, who? To God be the glory. That's my story.
And now we will bring up Mr. Auzio Hewlett from Atlanta, Georgia. Is that all right? Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Auzio Hewlett, and I'm here in support with the Byrd brothers. We are down in Nashville, Tennessee, at the National Plantation of McDonald's franchise. And we are saying don't be McFooled to all of the Americans and people around the world out there. And what's happening is the Byrd brothers are here and they are trying to get what's due to them from McDonald's. They've been star supporters for many, many years with McDonald's and really working hard to try and help build that program up. And McDonald's have been McFooling them for so many years. And now is the time for us to be able to say, McDonald's, the grass has been cut and the snake that you are have been revealed. And we asking that you do right by the Byrd brothers and any other franchisee owners that you have been perpetrating this fraud against for so long. This problem that McDonald's has been perpetrating against the Byrd brothers and minorities alike is not something new. It's the American way. For many, many years, if you know your history, it's a psychological condition that business owners and people that built this country up on the backs of black Americans feel that black Americans should not have any of the wealth. Well, those days are over with. The systemic racism that they've been perpetrating in this country is coming to an end. And if not now, when? And if not McDonald's, who? And so here we are, and we just asking everybody to stand up, and not only within McDonald's, but in all aspects of systemic racism, to stand up and speak out and start this movement with us to eradicate this systematic racism and to bridge the gap of economic fairness. And so that's what we're here for today, and we're not going away. Like the brothers, the speaker said before me, we're not going away, we're here to stay. And so, to God be the glory, that's our story. Don't be McFooled, and become a part of this movement with us. We asking everybody to do that. Thank you very much. Right now, I want to bring up the brother who's basically spearheading this Don't Be McFooled movement, Brother Kahari Nash. Come on up, brother.
And hello, Nashville. We're here today in front of the Nashville McDonald's field office It's our third stop on a 10-stop tour for the 10 McDonald's field offices. So we bring greetings from the Byrd brothers and 77 former McDonald's operators that are suing McDonald's for racial discrimination. I come from a long line of civil rights leaders, and actually one of them used to call Nashville home, the late Reverend Dr. Kelly Miller Smith Sr., who was from Mound Bayou, Mississippi, my hometown, the oldest black town in America. And so we know racism when we see it. And we know how to push it out. And so that's why we're making this push with McDonald's to push out the systemic racism that they have financially engineered against their black McDonald's franchisees, black employees, the black community. This farce has gone on for far too long. We are asking them to make amends, to actually do the right thing. And not only are we asking, we're demanding. That's why we're here today, because we're not going to stop until our demands are adequately satisfied. We offered some programmatic changes to McDonald's. One of them is a $500 million black franchise fund. With that $500 million is a minimum. So we want them to regrow the black McDonald's operators to the high of 377 from today 180. If you can see the disparity in that number. We also want to know that on average there's $1 million sales gap between the black McDonald's operators and the white counterparts. This is not by happenstance. This is it's all driven by location. And McDonald's controls who receives these locations. And these high volume locations, just so seemingly, they always end up in their white counterparts' hands. And the low volume locations end up in the black McDonald's operators. So today we're saying to McDonald's, let's get some equality, some diversity and equity and inclusion in the franchise system, not only in the franchise system, across all the verticals of McDonald's where they spend these billions. And we always want to point out that McDonald's uses a few of us to attack the multitude.
This is why we started the Black Clergy Awareness Campaign and the HBCU Awareness Campaign and the Black Community Awareness Campaign under the Don't Be McFOOLED umbrella.
And so they've used John Rogers, a black McDonald's board member, to say that the black McDonald's franchisees have $7.5 million worth of equity in their business and an aggregate $1.4 billion. And I'm looking at the Byrd's P&L and I'm saying, where is it? Do y'all see it?
No, sir.
So I'm like, so let's take this magnifying glass and let's get down to the details. And that's where the devil is, in the details. And so McDonald's has devilly, created this system that they have benefited from. They derive 30% of their gross sales from the black community, and it's not being equitably distributed across advertising. McDonald's created a black information network with iHeartMedia, 2 white corporations that are taking money from the black-owned radio stations.
Remember, BET is owned by Viacom, Bounce is owned by EW Scripps, and the Ricky Smiley Morning Show is on iHeartMedia.
And so we're saying, don't be McFOOLED to them, And so McDonald's has created this black and positively golden campaign, which is a false narrative that makes you think that McDonald's is fairly and equitably, embracing the black community. They only do this because 30% of their gross sales comes from the black community. And so we're just gonna keep on waking people up, telling them don't be McFOOLED. We're gonna give them the statistics, we're gonna give them the data, and we're gonna keep this movement going. We got 7 more stops on the McDonald's field offices. And then we have we're going to start our 100 HBCU campaign awareness in the fall. And we're actually in active conversation with Jacory Daniels, the SGA president at Jackson State University. And so Jackson State University has signed on. And we're just going to we're going to build this coalition because nothing happens without that. And we're going to tell you a little story about McDonald's. You know what I mean? We're going to chronicle their systematic racism, you know, and it dates back to 1955 when Ray Kroc franchised the first McDonald's. It's also the same year that Emmett Till was murdered in Money, Mississippi. So, you know, and then you take that to 1968 when McDonald's, we're gonna say they allowed the first black McDonald's operator. We're gonna say he was forced his way in because McDonald's had a situation on their hand to where there were four McDonald's in a black neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio, and on this day they were barricaded. The black people in the neighborhood was tired of McDonald's taking the money from the community, giving it to the white owner, and not repatriating that money into the black community. So they barricaded the 4 stores, and that's when Herman Petty became the first black McDonald's operator. And so you go on in history, we're at 68, and then you get to 84, and you had another situation of systematic racism with McDonald's, with a West Coast operator. What was his name? Bryce, yeah. So he sued McDonald's for systematic racism. Then you get to 1998. That's when brother Darrell Byrd got his first store. It wasn't because he was the only person that was qualified. No, he got a store because McDonald's was dealing with systematic racism from their black operators at that time. That was when the famous 18 black McDonald's operators went to Chicago, to corporate headquarters, and told them that they weren't going to take it anymore. And so that's when the Darrell Byrd came into the system. So we keep telling people that McDonald's has a long history, and this long history is now coming back again in 2020, when the 77 filed their lawsuit on November 16, 2020 in Chicago in federal court. And then when the Byrds filed the class action for the current operators on the 29th of October 2020. So McDonald's, we launched this Don't Be McFooled campaign in Chicago with Brother Wallace Gator Bradley, the founder and president of United Peace Inc., in front of McDonald's headquarters. And so McDonald's told us that they wanted to sit down and talk to us on the next day, but that next day hadn't come yet. So we're looking for that next day. You know what I mean? There has to be some resolution, because the solution has already been presented to you. You just got to embrace it. And so we're gonna leave you with this message that McDonald's is not who they say they are, and don't be McFooled. And we're gonna keep this campaign going to the black elected officials, to the black community, to the black clergy, the black churches. We're gonna keep this. We're gonna make sure everyone in the black community knows, don't be McFooled.
The Byrd brothers make the distinction of copying all the members of the House Financial Services Committee, the Congressional Black Caucus, as well as the Tennessee Congressional Delegation. This is a summation of Crawford et al. Versus McDonald et al. And the potential compensatory damages McDonald faces for systemic racism against the 77.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Yes, sir. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Every day we getting gunned down, and it's so profound. and we the main ones that are killing the major letdown. We used to play the back of the bus, we up front now. Now we play the back of the bus, cause it's cool now. Whatever happened to respecting what we fighting for? If right is wrong and what is right ain't even right no more. Your right hand, pump your fist in the air. Take $1 million to hold us back, but there's only one black there. Stand firm, all black, you gon' fall for it. My people get killed, no cause for it. And then they wonder why we search for the truth, cause we realize that we been living a lie and it's affecting our youth. They snatch proof like they pulling a tooth and fill it in before we get to the roots. And they be striking a nerve and they don't care how much they get on our nerves. To learn the truth we just don't deserve, really? Freedom! We shall overcome, oh we shall overcome. We shall overcome, oh we shall overcome. Now the truth of the matter is the truth of the matter, and the less that you know keeps their pockets fatter. And it's all propaganda, the media leads way. Price tag on black, so can we kill today? Black male take shells to the chest and face. He was killed by a black, that's a double play. And the media sees views getting paid today. Their kids go to college cause you paid the way. And no, I'm not a savior, but I'm saving the day. My people can't see the road, so I'm paving the way. I need more sunny days, can't deal with the gray, but you keeping them in the green with every dollar you pay. And it's a cesspool, I hate a dirty game we play. It's a lose-lose scenario, so many virus areas. Trying to find hope in God, but the church is a monetary. It's my democratic view from everything that's so political.
Black man, I'm your biggest fan. Slap me 5 on the black hand side, yeah. King me as you crown me, knowing I'm the result of your next move. Everybody plays the fool, but when do we stop? At this pace, we can't win this rat race. Cold, stricken, poverty face. Yet my ditty box says I'm rich, a high flyer. El Capitan of the SS Black. And baby, this ship is going down. The system ain't meant to keep us afloat, yet somehow we stay afloat.
Freedom! Freedom! And we shall overcome, we shall overcome. Freedom! Yes, sir!